to arrive. We are recording this webinar as well, so if you know anybody else who wants to watch this, we will send you a link to the webinar afterwards that you can pass on to other people, and anybody who's obviously registered on this will get access to that webinar as well, this webinar as well. Paul, as you know, is the Chief Exec of the Northern Automotive Alliance. And for those who may be, because this has been, we've got some invited guests on as well who aren't members of the Northern Automotive Alliance at the moment. This is just a brief overview of the Northern Automotive Alliance. It's an independent, not-for-profit company which provides a membership service combined with the project management delivery function for the automotive community, mainly in the Northern region. The NAA supports micro companies through to local global vehicle manufacturers and provides an absolutely brilliant service. I've been involved with the NEA for a little while now, and I'm a huge advocate of the service that they provide. So today is called 7 essential questions to answer before restarting your company. Now, I'm sure some of you have been carrying on working throughout the pandemic that we've got at the moment. But these questions apply not only in the situation that we're in now, but in any time when you're reevaluating where you are with your company. So there are certain questions that you need to ask yourself. And we're going to use some analogies here around building a house and sailing, believe it or not. So let's get started. As I say, if you've got any questions, please have a pad and pen at the ready to make some notes as we're going through this. And if you've got any questions at all, then please stick those into the Q&A box that's at the bottom of the screen. So when your house gets damaged in any kind of disaster, you need to rebuild. My question is, would you rebuild it exactly as it was? I know the house you can see in the picture there will probably take some rebuilding if it was that damaged. Or would you want to build something that you've always dreamed of? Would it be different? Now think about your business. You know, you've got the ideal opportunity right now as we start to come out of the situation that we're in. And this isn't the first time that we've had the winter of the economic cycles. Do you want to look at how you can rebuild your company into the company of your dreams? You know, the pandemic crisis may still be pummeling your business, but there will come a time when the storm starts to ebb. And that's when you have a unique opportunity. Without the forces of inertia pushing you in the direction you've always gone, you've got a moment to decide where you really want to be. The great Jim Rohn said, start with the end in mind. So what do you want your company to look like when it's finished? What are your longer term goals? It's an opportunity to rethink how you approach your company, to rebuild your business into what you've always dreamed it could be before little decisions stacked on top of one another, decision after decision, became too hard to undo. Most businesses evolve over time into a patchwork of products and services serving a mishmash of different customers. Now that's perfectly normal, but there may be only some products or services that truly add value to your company, and that's because of the #1 immutable law of business valuation. And that #1 immutable law of business valuation is this: thou shalt not pay for what we can do ourselves. And acquirers everywhere will say that. Acquirers, buyers of your companies, only pay a premium for a business when it would take too long or cost too much to build it on their own. And let's face it, we're in business to build a business asset. Even if you're not planning on selling right now or in 10 years or 15 years time even, the more you can build value into your assets, your company, the more you can do with your business. So, you know, it's really important to look at the value of your company from an acquirer's point of view, even if you're not thinking about selling. So let's have a look at the way the typical owner values their business. What's your business worth? If you're like a lot of business owners, to answer that question, you'd usually take your pre-tax profit and apply a multiple that you've heard companies in your industry tend to sell for. So let's imagine a £5 million turnover business generating £800,000 of profit pre-tax. There's the example on the screen that you can see right there. Further than that, let's assume that the owner has heard that businesses like his or hers trade at 4 times pre-tax profit. So that'll give you a value of 3.2 million. That owner then may assume that his or her business is worth around £3 million. But this is how the typical acquirer would value a business. They may not look at it in exactly the same way. Remember, based on the immutable law of business valuation, an acquirer will only value the sales you make from products and services that they'd find difficult to compete with. A savvy acquirer looking at the same £5 million turnover business will analyse your turnover by products and service line. And they'll place a different value on the products and services you sell. If you offer a commoditized product that they could easily offer themselves, they may not even place any value on that revenue at all if they can do that themselves. So when you look at this extreme hypothetical example, you've got the same annual turnover of £5 million. Then you've the 3 commodity products, A, B, and C. They would discount the turnover from those products, the revenue from those products. And they'd really only look at the revenue from that differentiated products. The products that the acquirer couldn't do themselves, the potential acquirers couldn't do themselves. And they're only willing to pay 2 times turnover and place no value on the turnover this company derives from selling the commodity items. So when you look at that, the annual revenue from the differentiated products is 400,000, and they're only going to willing to pay a multiple of 2 on that. So that will only give you a value of £800,000. So this, of course, this is an extreme case used to demonstrate the immutable law of business valuation, which is that acquirers will only buy what they can't easily create themselves. Now, when you're building your asset, as I said, even if you're not planning on selling right now or in 10 or even 15 years' time, then the value of your company is based on what acquirers are willing to pay. And acquirers will only pay a premium for a business when it would take too long or cost too much to build it on their own. So acquirers tend to see value in things like the distribution channels that would be hard to build for the acquirer. A brand that you might have that customers are loyal to. Maybe a customer base that would take time to build and earn. Are you in a strategic location that adds real value to that business asset that you have? Do you have some proprietary technology within your business that would be difficult to imitate for any other business? Think about your team. Are there employees in your team who are real specialists and really hard to recruit and give your business added value? Do you indeed have differentiated products and services? You know, those differentiated products which will add value to your company. Do you have those within your business right now? Or have you got the type of business that's got an organic search ranking that really take time to win for a business that's trading online? All of those questions are really important. Those are the kind of things that acquirers buy. Take Damien James, for example. His company Dimple had mobile podiatry clinics set up in retirement homes all over Australia. Zenitas also offer medical services like optometry through retirement homes. Dimple allowed Zenitas to immediately access a group of new retirement homes and offer a new service to their existing homes. Dimple was generating $11 million Australian dollars in turnover when they were acquired by Zenitas, and they acquired them for $13.4 million. Zenitas got to add a differentiated new service to its existing retirement homes and a brand new network of retirement homes to distribute their legacy services through. So you can see the power of looking at those key areas in terms of being able to add value to your business. So now is the time before you restart your business as it was before, to prune the products and services that suck resources, complicate your life, and may not add much value to your business. In fact, really now is a once-in-a-generation opportunity to refocus your business on offering something that acquirers will ultimately value and that will add value to the asset that you have in your business. And the first step is answering the 7 critical questions, the 7 essential questions. And the first one of those is this. It all starts with the problem that your company is uniquely set up to solve. What problem is your business trying to solve? Please write these down. Then you can ask yourselves these questions after the webinar. What is it that your company is uniquely set up to solve? The second question is this: who is most affected by this problem? Define the ideal customer for whom the problem is felt most acutely. And that's about your target market. Who exactly is your target market? How clearly have you defined them? You know, to give you an example, quite often when we're talking to people, they'll say, well, yeah, we can deal with anybody. You know, we can sell our products and services to anybody. Or for you guys, it might be, well, we can sell our product and services to anybody in the automotive industry. How can you really hone in your and really focus down on your very specific target markets? Because your marketing, if it's too general, won't really talk to the specific people whose problem you're solving. The more clearly you can define your target market, the more clearly you can define your marketing material and speak specifically to them. The next question is this: what does your company do to solve this problem? Describe in the simplest terms possible how your company solves this problem for the people who experience it. We'll run through these, just revise these at the end of this little segment. Then describing who you are uniquely set up to solve this problem. In other words, what gives you an unfair advantage? Why are you uniquely set up to solve this problem? What does the world look like when what gives you an enduring competitive advantage? It's your differentiator, your USP or your UVP, your unique selling proposition, your unique value proposition. Think about it like this: if you lived in some kind of utopian society where all the products and services that you provide were free, and you just got paid by the government on the number of customers who bought and how often they bought from you, what would it be about your products and service or your particular situation that gives you a real competitive advantage that would make those people come to you rather than your competitors down the street if price isn't an issue? Because ultimately, if you're just competing on price, then you're in a race to the bottom. Next, what does the world look like when you've solved the problem? As you look out into the future, how will the world look when you've solved the problem you're embarking on attacking right now? Next, how will you know when you've solved the problem? In other words, what's your mission? What quantitative objective yardsticks will you use to know when your mission is complete? What KPIs will you have in place? What very specific, measurable, achievable, timely goals have you got in place that will dictate when you've completed that and when you've solved that problem? And finally, what's your business model? How will you make money? We're going to summarize these, and then we're going to go on to some case studies of a few people and companies, business leaders and companies that have gone through this process and looked at these areas and have seen real success as a result. So what problem is your business trying to solve? Who is most affected by this problem? Who's your target market? What does your company do to solve the problem? What's your differentiator? What gives you that enduring competitive advantage? How do you know when you've completed your mission? What does the world look like when you've solved the problem? How will you know when you've solved the problem? And what's your business model? How will you make money? I want to spend a few minutes now just going through a few case studies of different companies and organizations that have used this as part of their planning process and have had some real value as a result of it. And the first one is Stephanie Breedlove from Breedlove and Associates. All of these are featured on some radio podcasts called Built to Sell, and we'll see if we can give you access to some of those later on. So in 1992, 10 million Americans were out of work. The country faced record deficits, and poverty and welfare rolls were growing. Family incomes were losing ground to inflation, and jobs were being created at the slowest rate since the Great Depression of the 1920s. And that's when Stephanie Breedlove started a payroll company. Now, rather than compete with the big providers, she decided to focus on providing payroll for a very, very specific market sector. And that market sector was for parents who had a nanny that they had to pay. So they needed to set up a payroll for the nanny. It was a tiny slice of the payroll market, yet 20 years later, she sold Breedlove and Associates for $54 million. And that's because she had a very specific market. She solved a very specific problem, and she had some proprietary technology within her business that became really valuable to other businesses, and also gave the business that acquired her access to a market that they didn't previously have access to. That's an amazing story. And she started with those 7 simple questions. And she did one thing really well. The next one is a guy called Sonny Vanderbeck. Sonny was the founder of a company called Data Return. And Sonny, so during the days that followed the terrorist attacks of September 11th in 2001, most Americans believed they were at war. You know, the crisis paralyzed owners of businesses who wondered what had become of the world. Spending stopped, stock market tanked. At the time, Sonny Vanderbeck owned and operated a web hosting company called Data Return, and had just seen a $1 billion acquisition offer from Compaq go up in smoke. So he took stock. Data Return was burning cash, and Vanderbeck figured they only had 6 months to get a deal done before they could face mortal danger. He continued to look for a buyer, and then he received another offer from a technology consulting and software business that was rolling up IT services companies. Vanderbeck agreed to sell Data Return in return for stock in the IT services roll-up company. But really soon after the transaction had closed, Vanderbeck realized that he'd made a mistake. And he's got a book called Selling Without Selling Out. He recognized that in the book, he recognized that his company's acquirer was suffering the consequences of a buying spree. They bought too many companies, and they'd made over 40 recent acquisitions, and they'd bitten off more than they could chew. And a little over a year later, Data Return's acquirer declared bankruptcy. Vanderbeck had fallen from being just days away from a $1 billion payday to owning shares in a bankrupt business. He still had his original data return partners and investors who believed in him, so Vanderbeck assembled his team again and bought the assets of his former company out of bankruptcy for $30 million. And 4 years later, Vanderbeck sold data return to Terramart worldwide in a transaction valued at $85 million. $85 million. So, you know, he bought at the bottom of the market. We talked about pruning your business. In 2003, the most common term used to describe the states of the economy was the jobless recovery. The year began with concerns about the war in Iraq, particularly for the American markets. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell below 8,000 in February. Mortgage rates plunged to 30-year lows. Homeowners rushed to refinance. George Bush was cutting taxes in the hope that consumers would start spending. And it was in that backdrop that Joshua Dick took over his father's company, Ernex. Ernex was generating less than $1 million in annual sales across 7 product lines. So Dick retrenched and jettisoned 6 of the 7 products. 6 of the 7 product lines. To focus on his limited resources on the one product that he thought had the potential to scale, and that was cleaning supplies for commercial coffee makers. So in other words, it was a niche of a niche. He'd really focused in on that specific market, and he had a product that he knew gave him a competitive advantage. He poured all of his limited resources into becoming the best in the world at that one thing, and ultimately grew Ernex to more than $5 million of EBITDA, which is when he decided to sell for a double-digit multiple. He got a double-digit multiple of profit for his business. So let's talk about John Moore. The recession that began in 2008 with the financial crisis was a time of massive disruption. Stock markets around the world were dropping hundreds of points a day. Banks were failing, as we know in the UK. Many, including John, thought that the world might be ending from a business point of view. Moore is the founder of 3D4medical.com, a company that created 3-dimensional models of the human body, photographed them and licensed the images to textbook publishers. When the recession hit Ireland, Moore's business took a significant turn for the worse, and he realized that he needed to reinvent the company. And he decided to offer an application that students could use to learn about anatomy. He really swiveled and pivoted. I know pivoting is an overused word just at the moment, but pivoted his services and the products to talk to students about the need to learn about anatomy. Instead of focusing exclusively on textbook publishers, they started selling their app directly to students, to teachers, and to medical professionals. The biggest business began to hum as more and more universities, including Cambridge University and the likes of Stanford in the States, signed on. By 2019, 3D4 Medical was up to 75 employees, including a great management team. Moore was making plans to continue to grow the business when one of the biggest textbook publishers in the world made an offer to buy 3D4 Medical for $50.6 million. Let's just talk about Griffin Thal. Griffin Thal was finishing his final year at San Diego State University and trying to figure out what to do with his life. He spent the last of his savings on a graduation trip to Costa Rica, and he crossed paths with 2 bracelet artisans named Jorge and Joaquin. And they were living in poverty. Jorge and Joaquin made beautiful, beautiful, colourful handmade bracelets that seemed to capture the essence of their journey. So Griffin took the last of his savings, a few $100s in his bank account, and asked the 2 of them to make 400 bracelets. So when he got back to San Diego, they built a simple website to record his online with no money to advertise. He promoted his lifestyle brand on social media. Over the next 9 years, Griffin built Pura Vida, the business, into a $68 million company with supply continuing to come from Jorge and Joaquin, who now employ more than 1,000 people. So they're no longer living in poverty. In July 2019, Vera Bradley announced that their acquisition of a 75% stake in Pura Vida for $75 million in cash, plus a $22.5 million earnout, which equates to a little more than 9 times that year's adjusted EBITDA. We're going to look at one more, and then if anybody's got any questions, they can give us a shout. We're going to talk about Atta Sulman, who's co-founder of Flux 7. So in 2012, business life was restarting after the recession of 2008. The Federal Reserve was using quantitative easing to try and kickstart the economy, which was still suffering. The unemployment rate was around 9%. It was against this backdrop that Atta Sulman co-founded an IT services company called Flux 7. Sulman and his partner started as just 2 smart guys with laptops, and they'd take on any project. But they quickly realized that they needed to focus and become the best in the world at just one thing. And they decided to become experts in helping companies migrate their technology to Amazon Web Services, AWS. This focus created a real domino effect where the more they concentrated their marketing, the more they attracted customers interested in AWS. They were able to say no quickly to the wrong fit of customers because of the business they were getting, and reserving their sales resources for people who really wanted to leverage Amazon Web Services. They also found the focus accelerated their referrals, which in turn fueled the growth. And by 2019, Flux 7 had 70 employees, was acquired by NTT Data, the Fortune 500 IT giant. There's a few examples there of people who've asked themselves those very specific questions we talked about earlier on and made a real success in terms of increasing the asset value of their business assets, their companies. I want to talk briefly about the Value Builder system. At Action Coach, we're one of the UK's leading delivery partners of the Value Builder system. And we've gone through this process and answered the same questions that we've talked about this morning using a tool called Vision Builder, which is the first step in the goal setting section of Value Builder. I'm a senior partner within Action Coach here in the UK. I'm also a certified Value Builder practitioner. The problem we see is that companies, maybe like yours, are getting cheated when it's time for them to sell or to look at the real asset value of the company. So we provide tools, content, and advice for building a more valuable company. Whether you want to sell next year, 10 years from now, or just know that you could sell when you're ready, our system's grounded in the data of more than 55,000 users. 2 best-selling books from the founder of Value Builder, John Warrilow, and another due on the way this autumn, by the way, and more than 250 examples of companies that have been built to sell, like some of those that you saw in that earlier segment there. And our vision, really, my vision, is to level the playing field for owners so that you get paid a premium for your life's work. Business is about giving you more life at the end of the day. You shouldn't be giving your life to the business. And our goal as a community of advisors and coaches is to empower 1 million businesses by 2030. We're one of only a handful of advisors around the world who offer the Value Builder system and methodology for applying what we've talked about today for your business. What I'd like to do is just to play you a quick video that just gives you a very brief overview of Value Builder and what it does for organizations. So hopefully you'll be able to hear this. If you can just give me a hands up once this has started, just to let me know that you can hear this playing for you.
For your company to be valuable, even sellable one day, there's a lot more to consider than just the bottom line. Will our customers continue buying? Are we too dependent on a key employee or a key customer? Will a new competitor start chipping away at our margins? Could my company survive if I was away for a while? Whether you intend to keep growing your business, sell it or pass it along to others, it's important to understand what drives up or undermines your company's value. That's where the Value Builder Score comes in. It's a system designed to show you how business is really going and identify areas that might be silently dragging down your company's value. The Value Builder Score algorithm was formulated using quantitative research gathered from successful business owners and the mergers and acquisitions professionals who represent them. Take 13 minutes to fill out the Value Builder Score questionnaire. We'll keep your answers in the strictest confidence. You'll instantly receive your Value Builder Score out of 100. Then we'll create a custom report detailing your score based on the 8 factors that drive the value of your company, along with some suggestions for improving your score. Finally, we'll set up a one-on-one consultation with you to discuss the steps needed to increase your company's value. It's confidential and designed to help businesses of all kinds at all stages. So fill out the Value Builder Score questionnaire now and find out how your company is performing.
Okay, so that's a little bit about the Value Builder Score. We're going to make that available to all of you free of charge. It only takes a few minutes. To say around about the average is around about 12-13 minutes for that to fill that in. It's online, gets completed, and once you've completed that, we'll do a report based on your answers to the Value Builder Score questionnaire and share that with you and go through that report with you. I want to give you the feedback form that we have. Now, this is the feedback form. It's now in the chat box. You should be able to see that. And if you could click on that link now for me and have a look at that feedback form when you get the opportunity. If you could fill it in at the end of the webinar, that would be absolutely fantastic. Because it's got a couple of options on there for next steps you can take. And one of those is just to check the box to say that you'd be interested in getting your Value Builder Score by completing the complimentary Value Builder questionnaire. If you don't fill the feedback form in, then we won't know to send you the Value Builder questionnaire.
For your company to be
I want to give you the opportunity to take part in a couple of other things that we're going to be running over the next month or so as well. We've got 2 ways to help apply this thinking to your business. The first one is a really unique mastermind group that I'm hosting called the Value Builder Rebuilder Mastermind. Before you start rebuilding what you had, now's the time to start thinking deeply about what you want. Do you want to rebuild the company that was dependent on you? Or would you prefer to build a self-managing business, one that can work without you? Do you want to rebuild the company you had, or would you prefer to reinvent yourself as a company immune from economic cycles? Really, do you want your job back, or would you prefer to build a valuable asset, a valuable company you can sell to the highest bidder one day? If you're committed to throwing out what wasn't working and rebuilding your business into a valuable asset, I'd like to invite you to participate in this exclusive mastermind class. We only have a maximum of 8 in the group, and it'll be 8 of your peers. You'll meet with a group of your peers once a week for 90 minutes via Zoom. In addition to the live group meetings, you'll also get unlimited access to the Value Builder system, which is built on the back of the Value Builder report that you saw, where you'll leverage a suite of weekly videos and value building tools. The Value Builder Rebuilder Mastermind is ideal really for owners of companies generating probably between £1 and £5 million, maybe a little bit less than £1 million, but £1 to £5 million in annual turnover leading into the pandemic. We realise that might not be as much now. And the the Value Rebuilding Mastermind comes with a 100% money back guarantee. If you attend all 13 sessions and you feel less than completely satisfied, we'll refund your money, no questions asked. The enrollment deadline is in just a couple of days. It's the 30th of May. And if you're interested in that, in your feedback form, there's also a checkbox to fill that in. If you want to go onto the Mastermind, then you will get to complete the Value Builder questionnaire as well. So don't worry about wanting to check that box as well. The second option for people, the second option is our Value Rebuilder one-on-one. If you're looking for something more bespoke, consider investing in the Value Rebuilder one-on-one product. I'll be your personal guide on this journey, your sounding board and accountability partner as you rebuild your business. We'll work. You'll end up with something which is much more valuable than the one you had before the pandemic. We'll work one-to-one as you rebuild the most critical parts of your business and the most valuable parts of your business, make critical changes that are required to make a more durable and ultimately much more valuable company. Given the attention that I provide to my one-to-one clients, I'm only able to work now with a maximum of 3 additional managing directors and CEOs of leading companies. And to qualify for this, you really need to have a turnover of somewhere between £2 and £8 million in annual turnover, annual revenue. The Value Rebuilder one-on-one also comes with a 100% money back guarantee. At any time in the first 90 days, if you feel anything less than completely satisfied, we'll refund your money. And again, no questions asked. So if you want to have a discussion about Value Rebuilder one-on-one, then just complete the feedback form and put in the checkbox the one-to-one option, the one-on-one option. Thank you very much for your time today. We're coming towards the end of the webinar now. I'll be happy to take any questions that you have. We've also got Paul Jones on the webinar, the CEO of the Northern Automotive Alliance. I'm just going to unmute Paul. Paul, good morning. I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Good. Very, very interesting material there. Very interesting.
Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I covered for you at the start. We went through your introduction
issues,
for
unfortunately, with my broadband.
I thought I was going to have exactly the same issues because my next door neighbour has got somebody working on the roof, and my broadband comes via a satellite dish on the chimney. And I thought for one horrible minute that they were going to move it as they were doing some work.
Got there in the end. Hope everybody enjoyed it as much as I did.
Yeah, so do I. I just really reiterate to everybody, please, if you could fill the feedback form in. It's really important to us. We give our time. This is the 3rd webinar we've done for the Northern Automotive Alliance now. And all we ask in return for that is that you complete that feedback form so we can get some really good data and good feedback on how we can improve and move forward with these webinars in the future.
And I just reiterate that, Paul, because obviously our networking events have moved principally to being online in the current pandemic. So the feedback is really helpful for us to make sure we're catering for our members' needs in the right way.
Yeah, absolutely. So we always say feedback is the breakfast of champions. So thank you very much for your time, everybody. Hope you've enjoyed and learnt something from the webinar. If you want to contact us, then all you need to do is email bolton@actioncoach.com, but please fill the feedback form in. We'll have all your details and we'll make sure that you get a link to the recording of the webinar as well. Thank you very much for your time and look forward to speaking to you again in the future. Thank you very much, Paul.
Thank you.